All right, y'all, it is time for the next and final chapter of Shadows in the Concrete Jungle. It's called The Streets Remember, Chapter 12. The docks were alive with tension, the air sharp and bitter like steel. The moon hung low, casting cold, pale light over the water, its reflection broken only by the ripples of the waves. Neaira could feel the weight of the truth in the air, thick and suffocating. This was it. There would be no turning back after tonight. Juan was playing a dangerous game, and he wasn't going to let anyone walk away unscathed. The crunch of gravel underfoot broke the silence, and Neaira turned, eyes locking with Enrique's. His jaw was tight, his hands steady as he checked his weapon, the cold steel gleaming under the faint moonlight. The boy, ever watchful, stood behind them, his silence unnerving. He was more than just a piece on the board. He was the end game. They approached the loading dock, the low hum of an engine growing louder. The black car was parked, its sleek silhouette cutting through the darkness. Juan's trusted allies stood by the vehicle, their expressions hard, their postures ready for the violence they knew was inevitable. Tonight, Neaira was ready for it too. Stay sharp, she whispered, her voice low and dangerous. We strike fast, no hesitation. Enrique nodded, his eyes glinting with the promise of violence. The air was electric, like the calm before a storm, and every muscle in Neaira's body was coiled tight, ready to snap. A figure stepped out from the shadows, Juan. His smirk was as cold as the night, his eyes gleaming with arrogance. He knew they were coming. He'd always known. The bastard had been playing them all along, stringing them along like puppets. You should have stayed away, Neaira. Juan's voice was smooth, like the first drop of rain on dry earth. But I admire your spirit, you and Enrique, always so full of fire. It's a shame to have to burn it out. The crack of a gunshot rang through the night, and everything went to hell. Neaira moved without thinking, her instincts taking over as she fired, the shot echoing in the silence. Juan's ally dropped to the ground, blood pooling quickly, a red stain against the cold concrete. Enrique's shot followed, and another body crumpled. The sound of gunfire filled the air, the chaos unfolding in a blur of violence and rage. Neaira ducked behind a shipping container, taking cover as bullets whizzed past her. She could hear Juan's voice taunting, the words lost in the noise of war. But then, as if on cue, everything stopped. The shooting ceased. The cold air seemed to still. The cold air seemed to still the tension palpable. Neaira stepped out, her gun aimed at Juan. The truth was too clear now, too heavy to ignore. She wasn't just fighting for power anymore. She was fighting for survival. You think you've won, don't you? Juan's voice was a mocking whisper, his face pale as he raised his hands in surrender. You think this is the end? But it's just the beginning. You have no idea what's coming next. Neaira stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. The boy, silent as ever, watched from the shadows, his presence now more ominous than ever. She knew the truth now. Juan hadn't just been playing them, he'd been setting them up for this moment, pulling the strings, manipulating every move. But the boy was the key. I always knew you were a coward, Juan, Neaira said, her voice hard, her gun unwavering. But what I didn't realize is that you were a fool, too. You underestimated us. You underestimated me. Enrique stepped forward, his face hard as stone. We're done here. Juan's eyes flickered, and in that instant, Neaira saw the fear in him. The fear that he wasn't in control anymore, that he never had been. And then, without warning, she fired. The bullet found its mark, and Juan crumpled to the ground, his smirk gone, his eyes wide in disbelief. The boy, still standing in the distance, finally spoke, his voice too calm for the scene. It's over, isn't it? Nyara turned slowly, meeting his gaze. The weight of the truth settled over her like a death sentence. He wasn't just a pawn, he was the future. The empire would fall under his rule, not theirs. She had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The streets remembered every betrayal, every lie, and they would echo with the cost of the truth for a long time to come. As Enrique holstered his weapon, Nyara took a deep breath. No, it's not over, but we've taken the first step. The boy's silent gaze followed them as they turned away, his presence lingering like a shadow. The end had come, but the beginning of something much darker was only just unfolding. All right, y'all, that was the end of the story. Um, if you listen from part one up until now, I do realize that some things may not make sense. So if y'all want me to like re-edit this story, if you have any questions, I can put it in there where there's like a gap or something. Just let me know. But yeah, this is the end. If you liked it or didn't like it, tell me what y'all think. Thanks for listening.